Welcome back, everyone. Had a couple of weeks off. Hiatus. Obviously, lost my old nan. Went home to Bree, put her away, and school holidays. So, been away for a couple of weeks. But as I've been promoting, we're going to start this new series, the best that never was. So, footballers that were the best of their generation in your communities, that never went on to reach the heights that everyone around them would have expected them to reach. So. As I mentioned in the promo as well, if there are footballers like that in your community, drop the names in the on the Game Changers podcast page, and we'll do like we're doing here with Matty now, and come out to the community and sit down face to face rather than do it via Restream Studio, which we're in tonight. But so yeah, if you've got those players in your community, and I'm sure everyone has, make sure you put their names down, because their stories need to be told. You know, these people were special people and special players, and once in a generation players, and we want to hear their stories. Obviously, the heartache, the regret, how they dealt with it, and that's what we're going to talk a little bit with Matty about tonight as well. So I'm just going to type this up so we've got it for future. And then we're going to get on to the chat and get Matty to introduce himself, and we'll make a start. Game Changers Podcast, the best that never was. Now, where did that name come from? The name come from 30 for 30 ESPN series that they do on ESPN around athletes and teams. And there was an episode on there following a fellow by the name of Marcus Dupree, who was this college recruit, college footballer in Mississippi, and he was, touted as the best athlete of his generation. He had over 100 colleges chasing him. The town was the home of Marcus Dupree when he was 15, 16-year-old. So imagine that, Taree, the home of Matt Mitchell. When Matt's 15, 16, that's how it was for this young fella. So it resonated with me because there's so many footballers that we know, grown up with, watched, that were the same as Marcus Dupree. So when I thought about this series, I thought that name is ideal. So if you're wondering where the name came from, the best that never was, it was that documentary on a bloke by the name of Marcus Dupree. Episode 1. All right, my special guest tonight. Introduce yourself, my brother, to all the viewers out there. Let them know who you are, a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, and who you are in general.
Born around Purfleet, Mum and Dad back in the 70s that moved into town from Purfleet. They got a housing commission house, and me and my brother, and then Mum and Dad had a few more kids and stuff, and I'm the first of 6 boys. But that's where I grew up, and like between Purfleet and Taree, and that's me.
Yeah. So where you fit in the family?
I'm number one in the family, but we got like my mob is Clarks, Buchanans, Bungies, or Bungay, and Mitchells, of course. But big mob, and the Bungies, real big mob, and Clarks as well, and Buchanan mob from my grandmother's from Nambucca Head, so the Gumbangi mob, and around Barrowville, of course, and Maxville, Coffs Harbour, and all the way down to Urunga. And my nan was born at Urunga, actually. Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about what it was like growing up around this area, brother. You're born and bred here?
Oh, but look, listen, like every Aboriginal community, we just live breathing football and rugby league, of course, and cricket. We play cricket, and that, we used to go down and play cricket at Perfleet now with the uncles and that, and the cousins, and mostly on the Pacific Highway, of course, or adjacent to it. And then like Friday nights, there was the lights come on, and we'd play touch football with the uncles and cousins, and then on the grass was tackle, but on the road was touch. So between the Pacific Highway and in between Perfleet got like a bottom mission, top mission, and then in between we played everything. Yeah, it was good.
So if you didn't feel up to it on the day, you'd just go and have a game of touch, or was that where you own your skills against the older ones as well?
No, because the older fellas always poured that was their life. Like rugby league was their life, and and then summertime was cricket, and so that's what we did. So if the older fellas, like my uncles and cousins and that, they were older than us fellas, and that's what we learned. Like most black fellas do too.
So, typical day in the life of Tari, you more or less covered today. But what did you get up to other than that sort of stuff you just mentioned there? You mentioned your love for cricket as well.
Yeah, no, like
typical day.
We had like a lot of like good Aboriginal fellas here. They were very good cricketers and touch footballers. But cricket, wow! I mean, our older fellas, we had a twilight cricket side, and that the first team they ever. The Twilight cricket side, they won it actually. Like I remember the uncles and that was hitting sixes and fours, and they wasn't running. And all they wanted to do was hit sixes and fours, because the West Indies back in the day, I think they represented black people at the time. And I mean, we loved Australia, of course, but the West Indies because they were black people, and because of the racism back then. Yeah. I mean, everybody loved West Indies back then.
Yeah. Was footy your first love, or were there other hobbies that?
No, rugby league was my first love. I mean, I remember the uncles. We used to go to the tip at Tanoni, and they used to get trophies up there back in the day. And like there was an old shield that was cut out, and we'd brought it back. We walked 4 kilometres just to grab this trophy. Brought it back to Perfleet, and then that was our trophy. Like when Parramatta, they used to put streamers back on the old oval at Perfleet, and confetti and all that sort of stuff, and it was funny. And my Uncle Terry Bungie, he collected these jumpers from the 70s right through, and to this day, and he's still got all them jumpers, and he still collects jumpers. He's probably got the biggest jumper collection in Australia. And
and did he use them for teams to separate?
Yes.
And the trophy was the trophy for whoever won.
100%. Yep, 100%. Look, we had like his younger brother Dennis and my Uncle Terry, they were captain and coaches, and then like they picked their teams from like top mission, bottom mission, or mixed, and then we used to drive each other. It was funny, but it was good.
So that's where the competitiveness come from, mate.
100%. 100%. Look, I put that in my uncles that but like mum and dad, like mum was always like a very good runner, and my dad, he was already competitive with doesn't matter with fishing or football, or he loved it. Yeah.
What about can you remember how and when you first got involved playing competition footy?
Yeah,
and what was it like back then?
I mean, like every community. I mean, we had that racial division. It was terrible, and I think 1980, myself and my uncle Mark Mitchell, he was probably the best footballer I ever seen. We signed up with Red Rovers, and it started from there. And we was only 6 at the time, playing under 7s with a lot of the kids that were older than us, and then not many Aboriginal people play football back then. Just they played on a community. But me and Uncle Mark Mitchell, I think we started then. But we had a lot of older fellas that were playing for Zebras and Tari Lions and a lot of that. But the fellas that were our age never played football.
So why Red Rovers over the other couple of sides?
No, because I don't know, because we were in town back then. Like I said, we from the 70s that Mum and Dad and that moved in, housing commission and stuff. But we had an old bloke called Plonky Wine. He was part of the Catholic Church and stuff. He was a beautiful man. He used to pick up all the guys from Perfleet, and Mr. Vandenberg. He was another bloke that lived in Old Bar, and he used to drive his old combi van. And his sons used to play with my uncles and stuff, and they used to pick up everybody. And my old Plonky Wine, same thing, used to pick up everybody, and they'd bring everybody for football training, because the most Aboriginal people back then just never had cars and stuff, or they used to hitchhike, and so yeah.
How far out?
Perfectly was, I think, 5 mile back in the day, so 3 kilometres. So from the Pacific Highway into Taree, but I know that my father and all them, they all played with Chatham Cundall, or then Tanoni had a side, my grandfathers, and all the old great uncles like Leo Buchanan and all them fellas played with Tanoni and Browns Creek. That not old football sides. I couldn't tell you about the junior grades, but yeah.
What else can you remember from the early years playing? Were there a lot of your cousins and that sort of come in town and play as well? Or?
No, eventually they did. I remember I used to grab my push bike, and I used to double cousins like Chrissy Morecambe. He ended up playing with first grade with Balmain Tigers, and I used to put him, Freddie Bloomfield, he's passed away now, poor fella, and brother Corey Russell, he's passed away now, and I used to double them all the way to Perfleet, drop them off, and then I'd ride my bike all the way back to Bushland back in the day, and it was pretty scary back then, but the police knew what I was doing, and the coppers knew, and I was happy, that. So sometimes they used to give me a lift back home with my push bike, put me in the bull wagon back in the day.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Was there, like you said, a lot of the Aboriginal people didn't play back then, but was there someone that you sort of looked up to as a young fella, and talk to us about what age you sort of
no, they played football, but I mean, there's a lot of junior clubs that they didn't play for, but they played for the community team. Of course, we had Perfleet back then, and then all of a sudden they, I don't know why they banned them for, but then South Taree come in, and then they always played Saturday League. We had 2 comps back here in the day, and that was Saturday League and then Sunday League, and Perfleet, like what South Taree was, they could play for Taree United or Taree Old Bar Lifesavers, so they could be affiliated with both. And we had Gloucester Magpies, and we had some of the legends that, used to play back then. And old John Parrish, he played for New South Wales and Western Suburbs Magpies, and that he was captain coach of the Magpies back then in Gloucester. And Saturday comp was just as strong as the Sunday comp, but Sunday comp was that's where you made your money. So, most Aboriginal people, we strive to play for United or Taree Old Bar. Yeah.
But played both days.
Yeah, they played both. Some Aboriginal people, most Aboriginal people played both days, depending how good you was and whoever missed out. So they got money on the Sunday anyway, played for free on the Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine doing that these days, eh? A lot of them.
No, they wouldn't even put up with
it. Even with the physio and that around these days, all the recovery stuff.
They wouldn't put up with
it. So we talked about players you looked up to as a young fella.
Yeah. All my uncles.
All your uncles.
Yeah, and my aunties too. I mean, you can't bet the aunties and their grandparents, of course, because I mean, all Aboriginal communities, they were the biggest supporters.
Yeah.
And a lot of the women, they knew more about football than most men.
Yeah. So you aspired to be like your uncles, eh?
Yeah, my uncles were the greatest football players.
Yeah. Did you try and model your game on them?
Oh, like them, but I remember like Steve Mortimer and Michael Beattie, and there was a few of them. Sydney players used to come to our presentations at Saltwater back in the day, and like Steve Mortimer, I was a Parramatta fan because Taree Lions was Parramatta colours, but Steve Mortimer, wow, you couldn't beat him, mate. Like, him and Sterlo and the Parramatta boys. But I'm a Rabbitoh fan. I love the Rabbits. Like, to the day I die, I love the Rabbits. Yeah, it's been in my blood for a long, long time, and yeah.
But, so who was better, Mortimer or Sterling? Because that debate's always around, eh? Everyone always puts Sterling up there because he won all the premierships.
But no, they're both as good as each other. I mean, Mortimer was faster, and he had a beautiful kick and chase game, and his cover tackling. Wow, you couldn't beat it. But Sterlo was tough as nails. Like, I can remember a lot of the games that Sterlo used to get his blonde hair pulled and punched, but his kicking game, wow, his kicking game was one of the best kicking games you ever seen. Plus his back line and his forwards was awesome too.
Still with your early stuff, early success. Talk to us a little bit about the memories and what were some of the biggest rivalries and the players that you loved playing against that were, equal to yourself.
Well, like between Chatham Cundall and Wingham had a few good young fellas there. Like Bevan Coleman was one of the best halfbacks I played against, and Port Macquarie Sharks and Chatham Cundall was like one of the best sides that we ever grew up against. Myself and Mark, and we just wanted to beat, because we had a side that was like monkey magic back in the day. Like Tripitaka, Pigsy, Monkey, Sandy, and the horse, like that was Tari Lyons, and we had some beautiful kids. They were awesome, and they were good to grow up with. And but we played against some of the best footballers that in the Group 3 area back then. And the Port Macquarie Sharks and Chatham Cundall were the two of the best. Yeah.
Did you win many grand finals early on?
No. We got to the finals a very lot, but Uncle Mark Mitchell, like if he didn't play, I wouldn't have won many games up there. Yeah.
What about talk to me a little bit about rep teams coming through. When did you start making rep teams?
Actually, they used to overlook me and Uncle Mark Mitchell. A lot of the other teams that they got in before us, and then I think it was Dave Kedwell. He's a local construction worker here. He gave me an opportunity to play 5'8". His young fellow was halfback, and he picked Uncle Mark and myself, and he realised, we were two of the toughest fellas that played against the kids, and he gave us an opportunity, and he gave me my first opportunity to play 5'8", and I can't thank him enough.
Uncle Mark, so he was around the same age as you.
Oh, mate, look, listen, I'm seriously, he's probably, to all my uncles and my cousins and everybody I ever seen, but he's probably the best footballer I ever played with. Yeah.
And he was around your age?
Yeah, he's my age. He's my dad's baby brother, and he's probably the best footballer I ever played with, all round. He had the passing game, but he was tough, man. He could play from front row to the centre. 5'8", he could play 5'8". He set me up with that many tries. I was a lot faster than Uncle Mark, but he was tough. Yeah, probably the best footballer I ever played with.
Yeah. You talk about getting an opportunity to play 5'8".
Yeah.
What were you playing before you played 5'8"?
I was a halfback actually. Yeah, I wanted to be Sterlo or Mortimer, so that was me. And I think my best position was inside centre back then or fullback. So. Yeah.
Creative 5'8" or runner 5'8"?
Oh, I was both. So I could pass both ways. We had a leather ball back then, so I could pass left, I could pass right. So that was spin pass back in the day.
Yeah.
And nobody else. I think Uncle Dave Russell taught me that sort of stuff, and he's probably my best and favourite coach. Uncle Dave Russell, yeah.
When did you and the family start to sort of realise that you were good enough to give it a crack? And can you remember early on the conversations that the family had, you guys all had around?
Well, I think of my Uncle Dave. Uncle Dave Russell, like Auntie Melly was my nan's sister, younger sister, and one of the younger sisters. And Clark, my big mob, and Uncle Dave, he gave me the freedom to do what I wanted to do. With me and Uncle Mark, he said, look, I'll give you a structure, but you do what you do if you see it. He was the one that would like these days taught me how to what's in front of you. So if you read like a 3-on-2 or 4-on-3 or something like that, Uncle Dave Russell probably, he's probably the greatest mind I ever seen play football. And he taught me that. And like he's passed away now, but he's probably my favourite coach. Wow, yeah, and that's what gave me the opportunity to pass on to my children, because Uncle Dave Russell, my uncles, like the Bungie side, like well, you couldn't beat him, but Uncle Dave Russell, wow. I mean, he was like a couple of generations before himself, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow.
What age were you when you sort of made the step?
Well, 16.
And was it hard? Was it hard? Were you a bit reluctant, like a lot of the other boys won't move away from home,
No, I was pretty confident. I was always been confident to go forward because Uncle Dave Russell and my father and mother always give me they never had restrictions on us. All they said to us, Dad would say, you bring the police home. He said, you believe me, you're gonna feel it. So one day the boys were trying to break the light at 10-pin bowl, and they said, brother, you couldn't hit that. One rock, bang, smashed it, and we got in trouble. And the first time I bring the coppers home, and I got a hiding, and they realised how big my father was. They go, oh no, Mr. Mitchell, I think your son's right. My dad was a big man, and after that, yeah.
So did he sort of try and get you out?
Yeah, he did.
Because of that?
Yeah, he did.
And talk to us about what sort of age bracket it was. Were there a couple of you that went to Sydney? Did you go to Sydney? Did you go to Brisbane?
No, I was first one. Uncle Mark didn't come with me. I wanted to, but he paid for my train ticket. I remember this, and it was my school teacher, Bob Wallace. He was a PE teacher at Chatham High School, and he seen me play. Right, actually, I'll take it back. Brian Bartlett, I think he played a bit of first grade or reserve grade with Canterbury Bulldogs. He was a first grade captain coach of Tari Albar, and I was playing under 16s. And he gave me a first opportunity to play first grade with, I think it was 1990, with Tari Albar and me and Uncle Mark, and we come off the bench, and I played 5'8" with old headed halfback that, wow, he was good. And Brian wanted me to send him to like Bulldogs and stuff, but Bobby Wallace, I think he got in my old man's ear, and he sent me to South. And Uncle Dave Russell wanted me to go to Canberra because he had a good relationship with Don Ferner at Raiders. Okay. But I said, no, they had a bloke called Laurie Daly there, so there was no chance of me going down there.
There was a bit of interest, eh?
Yeah, no. So Dad was a South supporter, like half a Tyree South. So Bobby Wallace, he played a bit of grade and first grade with South back in the 50s and 60s. So he sent me down, for a trial match. Uncle Mark Mitchell actually paid for my tickets. I remember it was $13.80 for a ticket from Tara to Sydney, and we fell asleep going down, and we woke up, and the conductor come and wake us up at Central Station. We didn't know where he was. And I had a pair of board shorts on, no socks, and a pair of footy boots. My dad, hired. He had to hire it from a local sports shop. And I scored 5 tries in my first trial match. Yeah. In board shorts and no socks. Yeah, it's ours. So they gave me opportunity, and so the rest is history then.
And so 16.
Yep.
We talked a little bit about the position you played and your style, which I had down in the questions. But talk to me about when you get that opportunity at South, do they sign you to a contract, or what was it like back then?
Oh, back then, no, it was good. And I mean, I met Daryl Bampton. He's going through a bit of the health scare at the moment, and no, he was great. I know him. He knew Robbie Wallace pretty well, and I got to meet some of the old legends back then, and I didn't even know where I was. I was in a big city, and I was freaking out a bit. And lucky I had an auntie, like on the Ridgeway side. That was over in Leichhardt, and they took me in, like first off, and helped me with the training and stuff. And the boys showed me around to get the trains and buses and all that sort of stuff. So
you stayed with family. That didn't.
All the Ridgeway mob.
That didn't stay down with you.
Yeah, no, that was already down there. They've been down there since the 80s. So and I got caught up with my cousins and stuff there. That was then Garrett Street Leichhardt. So that was awesome. I'll never forget that. Only Faye and the crew. So that showed me around everywhere. So I remember when I first got my contract with South with Daryl Bampton and that, I had to catch 2 buses to Central Station, and then another one over to Randwick to go to Marcellin College. So it was freaky. And I ended up with all boys school there back in the day. So Marcellin, So I was one. Like there was another black fella be there before me, Brad Webber, I think it was, from Graftaway, and he played great with South as well. So I think I was the second Aboriginal fella there, I think. So
do you remember the scouts coming up? Carnivals and things nowadays. They send a lot of scouts there.
Yeah.
So was it just word of mouth?
No, back then, because my school teacher, like back then, most of your school teachers were or Winfield Cup, or they were first graders back in the day. Like they were school teachers. Ryan Smith, Bill Anderson.
Roy Masters.
Roy Masters. There was a lot of school teachers. And Bob Wallace was like a South legend back then. I know like Clive Churchill spoke highly of him, and he was the man. Like and like old Bobby, he seen something in me, and my Uncle Mark, but Uncle Mark couldn't come down because I think he'd become a father by the time he was 16, and
sacrifices. Yeah. People always talk about needing to make sacrifices to take the next step. I think what a lot of people don't take into account is the sacrifices that young Aboriginal men make to go down and try and make it in the big smoke. Because for a lot of them, I think a reason a lot of them go home is that they've got the connection at home. They feel like when they move away, they lose that. Like growing up, leaving there, coming down for high school, you're missing 4 or 5 years being with family. So all of that sort of weighs on people as well, and that's why they go home, or they feel disconnected later in life because they missed that growing up with a lot of the family. How was it for you, brother?
Listen, I like I said, I seen a lot of my uncles and stuff, and we had big families, like most Aboriginal families. We got big families, and my uncles, some of the greatest footballers I ever seen play rugby league, and it doesn't matter what community you come from, and never got the opportunity, but so I tried to do what I'd done, and if I had Uncle Mark Mitchell coming down with me back in the day, you never know, I could have played a bit of first grade and stuff, but it wasn't to be, and but I knew I had their support, and the thing is, you always miss home, like country's country, and when you go to the city, and it's like, you miss your mob.
Because a lot of people feel like that they're sacrificing culture and connection and that too when you're moving away. What would be your advice to the young fellas now who don't want to leave because they don't want to miss out on all that sort of stuff? Because it's always there when they go back.
Look, the first thing I think when my 2 boys were down that way to the Roosters and stuff, the first thing I said to the boys, and I said, listen, they're going to train the love out of rugby league to you, what I mean? Like black fellas, like Aboriginal people, we love football. Like we love sport, and I told my boys, I said, listen, it's got to become professional, and it's got to be like a job, and you're going to hate it eventually. So you got to treat it like any other job. So, but back in our day, it was semi-professional. So we didn't get that advice, And I always said to my boys, I said, listen, if you ever want to make rugby league and football, I said, you got to give it a go, and don't be stupid about it. This is your job. Might be for 10 years, might be for 5 years. So, you know what I mean? So it's up to you what you want to do with it, So, look, it's paying dividends now. So, and
when Phil was at Roosters, he had that stint back at Wyong. What was your advice to him? Because he could have went either way.
Why kick stones, son? Do you want to be like that? End up with nothing. I said to him, I said, son, he's seen what I went through, and when I come back and I lost everything, you know what I mean? That was my decision. But, and I said to my boys, I said, look, listen, you can't do that, mate. I said, listen, been there, done it. I said, now, do you want to play rugby league? So, all right, I'm going to support you on it. I'm going to support you on it, me and mum. Let's do it. It's up to you. Yeah. And then it was Shaquai, like Claude. I call him Claude. And he was 6'2" when he was 12 or 13. I mean, he was a giant, and he was like he had the ball skills like wow, like he had.
So said he played in the house, did he?
No, he in Latrell eventually, but their little cousins, of course, Jardy Morecambe, and Jardy had beautiful skills as well. Like he was another little black fella, but he didn't grow so fucking tall.
No, you're right.
But he was like he had beautiful ball skills and footwork as well. And Jardy could have been anywhere, and anything. The boys, I remember taking down to Newcastle, and they played against Tavita Pangai and a few other kids. Yeah,
Sione
Matadi and all that. And Chatham High School smashed them. They absolutely smashed Newcastle. This Newcastle team, I think it was John
Hunter Sports High School.
Chatham High School bashed them. And Shaq, Trell's he was a year younger than everybody else, but there was Jardy and a young kid named Dane Koskeri. Wow, mate, they played all over these kids, and Dylan Towers and a few other kids. And I said to them, oh wow, I said to the Newcastle kids, you're not picking these kids from Taree up. You're under your jurisdiction, like Newcastle Knights, Taree. Wow, nothing.
Because they had the run of the mill right out to Tamworth, Moorea. We talk about it, Newcastle.
Nothing. Newcastle Knights said that my children wouldn't play first grade. That's what Newcastle Knights said. How many Aboriginal fellas would Newcastle Knights deny? We're only an hour and a half away. Yeah. It's not right.
Opportunity missed.
100%.
I want to talk, and this will be a question for all of the guests on the show on this series, because I feel like you guys were special players. Once in a generation, we talk about. So people say you're cut from a different cloth. Like a lot of players would say they had the mindset of going out there and wanting to be the best player on the field. There were other players that said they just felt like it was them and the ball. No one else could come near them. So the only time that they wouldn't reach their potential was when they made mistakes or tried too hard or different things like that. Yeah. What was your mindset to be so great?
You said, just remember all the people that come before you, like your elders, your community, your uncles, your aunties. I mean, what about the stuff that they put up with? What about the stuff they put up with? That's what should drive you more, is that the stuff that your aunties and uncles and your mothers, your grandparents, everybody that come before you, they put up with a lot of stuff. And always, I drive that to my children, don't sell yourself short, because they were put on missions, and they were doing this and they were doing that because the government told you to. And then the Gungies or police told you to do that. Don't listen. Don't worry about that stuff. Just do you, and then eventually everybody else will follow you.
Yeah.
Be a leader, and then like our people never got the opportunity back then, but we had some very strong people, and especially in our communities. How many sports people, not just men, that come before us? They were beautiful sports people. I remember all my aunties. Wow. That was some of the great sports people. If they play rugby league, well, most men be lifted. They get lifted. That's my mother's side of the family. Wow, they could beat any man playing anything, like even airball. Wow, like rugby league, netball, basketball.
So you felt like your mindset was to take the opportunities, make the most of them because the people before you didn't have them.
100%.
But honouring them too, by the sounds of it, making them proud.
100%. That's why my children the way they are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I come home one day and 1983, I think it was, and they was trying to force us to sing this national anthem. I said, "What's this anthem?" Anyway, I was singing it. Yeah. And I went home, my old man, I said, and he said, "Son," he said, "Norm," because he called me Norm Know-it-all, "come here. What's that song you're singing?" I said, "Oh, this is a new song you're singing at Chatham Public School." And then it was like, Advanced Australia Fair, and he goes, "Have a listen to the words." He said, "Yeah, that was written back in the 1800s by a Scottish fella." My old man never finished year 10, but he knew this song. He knew all this stuff. And I said, "How do you know that?" He goes, "It does represent us." Yeah. So listen, I will stand for the anthem, but I will never sing it. Yeah. I told my boys, "It's up to you fellas. Look, Pop, give me the opportunity." He said, "Listen, he was down at 10 Embassy back in the day, but he always said, look, he's not discriminative, but he said, it's up to you fellas if you want to sing the anthem." And then who got blamed for not singing the anthem? And never even said nothing. Yeah, I want L.M. Mitchell. Yeah, it's not right. So that was come from me. So if anyone blames anybody, like, don't blame my son, blame me. Because my father told me it doesn't come from us. It was written by a Scottish fella back in the 1800s during the white policy. Yeah.
When you went to Sydney, did your mindset change, or were you always still trying to make? Like, were you playing it out a chip on his shoulder, or were you respectful and humble?
When I first went down there, I was very humble and that, and I think Daryl Tricky Trindle, and Wezzy P, of course, and his mum and dad, of course, Auntie and Uncle, Cecil and Phyllis. They were beautiful. And I think I lost my way there for a bit. And I know Daryl Trindle, like Tricky, especially. I trained with him a lot, and Trickster. He was awesome, mate. I got to see some of my idols, training back then, like Tucker Coleman and Bondi Davison, and Tricky, of course. He was a young fella. He's only a couple of years older than me. Yeah. But and Georgie Longbottom and sorry, not Georgie, sorry, Brucey Longbottom, legend, Graham Lyons, and some of the legends. And mate, I'll never take that back. And Tricky always tried to, give me advice and stuff on things. And unfortunately, I went a different way, and it was terrible. It was my fault.
When you were there, you talked about you're humble, right? Because those young fellas that just carry themselves and they're really confident.
Yeah. I wasn't confident.
When you see someone like all of those names, did you feel like you wanted to be there or you deserved to be there?
I deserved to be there, but because it wasn't my country. I'm a Biripi man, I'm Warramah man, I'm Gumbaynggirr man. No, I was on different countries, so I always asked the elders, "Am I right?" And I just didn't feel like I was on the right country. Yeah, that was probably the biggest thing for me. Yeah.
How long did you stay? And what were your best memories of the footy in Sydney? And And who were some of the players that you competed against week in, week out
Oh, jeez.
that went on to make it for
Well,
the viewers?
one of the best memories I met was Wesley Patton and his family. That was beautiful. And, they were lovely people, They were both like Uncle Sess and Auntie Phyllis was country people, and Wesley and Olivia, of course, and like my brother and sister.
Yeah.
And oh, jeez. I got to meet a lot of Aboriginal people down there from like different countries, like Queenslanders and mob from the bush and stuff. And it was, I know. But
how long did you stay?
From 1990, I think 96 was my last year. I come back and forwards, but I should have stayed longer, but yeah.
What led to the downfall? I mean, you say you had 6 years there, is that right? 6, 7 years?
6, 7 years.
Because I thought it was a bit shorter than that.
No, I was back and forwards south. Like end of 99, so 91, 92, 93. Started 95, I was with South, and I had nowhere to stay at one stage there, and I slept on Maroubra Beach. I remember. I was.
So they never looked after the players. Like
No.
I
didn't tell anybody.
Too proud.
I was too proud. Like Harold Bantham was beautiful, and I know that. And the Chapel family took me as a. And they lived in South Coogee back then.
Yeah.
And I was bodyboarding or surfing at Maroubra Beach and Coogee and stuff, and I got to know the Bra boys and stuff. And I was sleeping on the beach. I think it was in 94, maybe 95, and I was used to cover myself over with my surfboard cover, and we building a fire on the beach, and it wasn't good. And I was sleeping on my Telstra bus. I was working with Telstra back then.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it was about Maroubra. Maroubra made me feel home, so that was good down there.
So what? Did you feel like lonely? You felt like you didn't belong, or
no? I felt eventually I did. I lost everything. I lost connection to everybody, and So I was sleeping. Yeah, it was terrible sleeping by myself and stuff, and I had nobody to talk to. So I didn't think I was, good enough to be in Sydney. So yeah.
What would you do differently, knowing what you know now?
Oh, look, I can't do anything differently. I just got to take it on the chin, and I got 2 boys down there that's playing pretty good. So, and I sort of told them my story and, the stuff that I got up to back in the day, and it wasn't good. But, they are who they are now. So, but then we're talking about some of the footballers I played against.
Yeah.
So, Andrew Johns, Robbie Ross, Gordon Tallis. Oh, geez, who else? Chock was younger than me. Wesley Patton, of course.
Yeah.
Solomon Amono, Steve Menzies, Nick Kosseff. Who do you want? Matty Johns.
Who was your toughest opponent? And were you playing 5'8" there when you were there?
I was playing 5'8" back then. I was centre, sometimes on the wing when I played reserve grade. But I remember Kenny Nagus. Sorry, me and Kenny went down. I think me and Kenny went down the same time. He was playing with Group 1 and I was playing with Group 3. But that was in 1990. Kenny, Michael Maguire, the coach.
Yeah.
I played against Michael Maguire. He was at the Raiders back then. Oh, geez, there was too many mentions. So, like I said, I'm the same age as Andrew Johns and Tallis and Menzies and Kosseff and Wesley P. And
Did you make any of the rep sides when you were there?
No,
And who beat you? Who beat you out?
I don't even know. I don't even know. I just thought that like Wesley Patton for the Tigers and myself at Duncan McRae and Paul Miller, he was my centre. So, and then Paul McNicholas, he was one of my front rowers, and Shannon Donato, he was my hooker.
So, no, that was
South. They're South juniors. So I thought, look, I love Duncan McRae. I thought he had a great passing game, kicking game, but Wesley P was like, I thought me and him should have played City that year. But even though I played my first grade at country, and country didn't pick me because
you were down there.
I was down there, and I played my first grade with country. So like you name it, I played against them. Yeah.
What when you come on, because a lot of people, depending on situation how they handle it, a lot of people go into deep depression. A lot of people don't play again. A lot of people blow up, put weight on, play, but they're a shadow of themselves. What did you do after you come on? Knowing what you left behind.
Well, I didn't really hit depression until I went to Mildura way, and I was playing Aussie rules down there, and I was wearing these little tight shorts for Whitworth Bulldogs, and I remember playing a couple of games there, and I played for the Woy Swats. I played Aussie rules. Oh, it was funny, but I don't know what I played Aussie rules for, but then I played with Wagga Magpies, 96. And we were going pretty good. I think we had 7 games straight, like undefeated. And then, they didn't get me a job down there back then, and it was pretty cold. And I got in with the boys' mum, and we had Shaq. It was 96, so I think I went hunting then. I went down to Mildura that way, and done that, and then I come home. Then I hit depression. I sort of, it wasn't good. I thought, oh, geez, I should have. So 98, I come back. Mal Cochran, former Manly great, he coached me at Old Bar Pirates, and I come home and I was a lot overweight back then, and I can't thank Mal enough. He got me opportunity, and I was coming off the bench sometimes, and I didn't really want to play rugby league anymore, but. I enjoyed myself, and then in '99 I spent the off season with the Parramatta Eels, and Noel Cleo invited me down, and I went down. I mentioned Mal's name actually, and Coco gave me the endorsement. I don't know why he did, but because I got suspended before the grand final.
Yeah,
terrible for something I allegedly done. But Coco was good, Mal, and been a Taree boy. And an opportunity with Parramatta Eels, but we had our baby son, so we had the 3 boys, and then they was living at Parramatta, and I said, oh no, I'll take them home. So I come home in that '99 with Parramatta Old Bar Pirates. Won a grand final with some of local legends, and Shani Glass and Mike Merce and a few of the other boys, and Wally Gibson. He's a legend in England. He played Super League before it became Super League. And Wally come back and played centres for us, and he played with Huddersfield and Oldham and a few others. So he's a
brother Wally.
Brother Wall. I know he grew up in Taree, but I know he's mob from that Dubbo way. And he's one of the legends. And it was good to play with Wall, and we won a premiership together. So I know he was one of the Newcastle Knights' first signings, besides Ashley Gordon. Before the Flash. So me, Wall, legend, and we had a black line, like not a black back line. We had a black line, and So in 2000, I went over. Terry McCartney was Bulldogs coach. He played on the wing for the Bulldogs, and he was captain coach for us and Mitchell and that.
Now, when you come back, you talked about a little bit overweight, but looking at the photos and that of those grand finals in that early 2000s that you just talked about, then you actually look like you're in pretty good nick. You're fit still. Did you feel like you're still as dominant as you was before you left?
No, I just come home just to raise my boys and my children and stuff, and. It was a good mate of mine. We grew up in the neighbourhood, with black fellas, white fellas. Like we had checkerboard, but we all knew each other. We could sleep with our windows and doors open, but He was a bodybuilder back then, and he said, Matty, he said, I'll get you fit, right? So we trained for like 6 to 8 months in the off season, just lifting weights and doing all this stuff and eating properly, and he got me back on board, So for the next couple of years, I was, probably the best pick, and then until Bert, cheated us at carry, but half a run.
I've always been waiting to bump into Matty to ask him if he played in the 2003 knockout, because I played with Burke and we played against Tari and we busted them, but Matty reckons that they were the better side that night. If anyone remembers, that was before 3, because that was before Redfern went on their run of like 5 or 6 straight, because they won it. They beat us in the last game after we busted Matty and them.
Yeah, the referee and the touch judge and the lock forward, that was all from Burke. And it was half a rain, remember?
I was goal kicking. I was saying to Matty, I've been waiting to bump into him to ask him if he played in that game.
I was captain coach that day.
Goal kicking, and I remember putting the tee down and it just floated away.
But listen, if you fellas didn't beat us, would have busted Redfern. I told Wesley P. I was coming for him. Him and Robbie John and all their boys. Yeah. That was that year.
How long did it take to get over, the disappointment? Because I would imagine that you would have still had people telling you how good you were and why you and all those sorts of things. How long did it take you to get over it?
I've had people pissing in my pocket for a long time.
Yeah.
It was wrong, but being a local, I can't say local legend because my uncles and
in your eyes,
in my eyes,
but everyone below you would have put you at where you put your uncles.
100%. It took me a long time. I brought them there for a while, and I mean, if you ask like Latrell and Shaq and that, they don't mention it because the media just want to run with the shit.
Yeah.
But us between black fellas, drugs, alcohol, we hit rock bottom, and it's not good. But
and that's the way you sort of cope with. It was massive, Like when you come from a little community and you get that talent and you can change the whole dynamics for your family, you feel like you got that gift and you didn't make the most of it.
I just feel I felt like that I left people down, my mum, my dad, my grandparents, and my uncles, and especially Uncle Dave Russell. Like he was someone my mother's family. Like wow, like they're some of the best footballers I've ever seen in my life. And my dad's brother, Uncle Steve, or we call him Uncle Gunter. Like he was one of the greatest centers of all time. Yeah. He could have beat Zip Man or like wow, he was. Yeah. 81, they got ripped off in Armadale. Look, that South Tari undefeated, and then Zetland, they got ripped off. And Mal Cochran from Tari, Perfect Mission, he was playing for Zetland, and they got ripped off in 81, and they South Tari could have been in the final, to win it, and then Zetland won it, I think it was, 81, in Armadale, and they reckon Uncle Steve Mitchell was like he was the man back then, and always think about that. And I did hit depression for a long time there, like most Aboriginal fellows do, and because we got used to people pissing in your pocket. Yeah, it's not good. So every time like the boys come home and they always keep a small circle. I always tell them keep a small circle of your mob, your family and your mates. Yeah. Because when people piss in your pocket,
going to have your back to
no, just general people. Yeah. Just say, fucking, they give it to you straight. That's what it's about. Give it to you straight to say, if you're mucking up, pull them in the line.
Tell you what you need there, not what you want.
100%. Don't muck around. What these fellas say, hey, brother, I'll buy you a beer, or buy this or that. That's not good. Yeah.
How does it feel? When we talk about pissing in your pocket, but how does it feel when people bring up how good you could have been And how does it feel also hearing fellas like Joey? Because when Joey talks about Latrell, he'll always come back to the yarn about, playing you and you carving him up a couple of times as a young fella too. Like, how does that make you feel personally as well, Like, it must feel good to hear someone like Joey sort of say that too.
When it comes from someone like him, I mean, wow. I mean, that's a compliment, but I never ever say nothing to my boys about that stuff. Yeah. Like he's the eighth immortal. What am I going to say? I would thank you. All I say, I will be. I will be. He's the man, mate. I listen from when we were juniors to it. Like he kicked on and he done who he is, So and I didn't. So all I wanted my boys to do was say, look, be like my dad always told me. Your children are a better reflection of yourself. And that's how we are. And we've got to be, bigger, stronger warriors. And my old man, he was a big man. Like he was taller than me. I'm only 5'11", and he was 6'3" and a bit. And then all my children are giants. I got 6'5.5", 6'4", and I got almost 6'4".
I want to know a little bit about because everyone sort of knows Shaq and Troll, but talk to us a little bit about the other son. Did he play?
Lionel.
What, is he years old or something?
I've got two caramels. That's Shaq and Troll. Claude and Flipper. That's what I call him. And then Black Ass. He's the darkest out of all of us. And he wouldn't make it because he's too nasty.
Yeah, right.
You got that one kid. Like wow, like.
He'd be in the sin bin all the time.
No, he like his father. He got the ball skill. He got like Claude, like Big Shaq. He got the ball skill, like man, like you wouldn't even see, like wow. But like the first grade coaches don't even like Flipper Latrell. He got the killer instinct, like wow, you're not going to beat me. That's Trell, and I love it. He got the Michael Jordan instinct. No, you can't beat me. That's Trell. He's the middle child. And then Lionel, like he's built like his mother. He got the radgery body, like the big calf muscles and big thighs. I got the coastal fellas, like we got no calf muscles. I said to Trell, I said, how'd you tear your calf muscles? You got no calf muscles. You're like mine are flashes, Ash Gordon's. No calf muscles. But Lionel he's the perfectly built black fella. Like he's dark, big, strong, and he got mongrel. He found a spinal injury, so that's what set him back. And we sent him down to the Roosters, and they didn't give him opportunity.
But he played, eh?
Yeah, he had a go, mate, and he was just as good as his brothers. Yeah. So no, he's a local boy. He just wants to do what he does. Yeah. So his family.
Let's talk about family. You got the boys. They got little bobbers now. How's life as a dad and as a grandfather?
No, I'm a better grandfather. Yeah. I love it. Mate, I'm the best grandfather ever. Yeah, 100%.
How often you get to see the grandbabies?
Well, Nan always organises it. She, I would like to because I'm trying to look after Latrell's cows. So, I mean, that's a bigger problem than everything. But Nan gets them. I got. We always get the 4. We've got Latrell's 2, and then we've got Shaq's 2. Shaq's got another one, Malawai, and we've got Lionel's 2, but the baby fella, oldest fella, he don't want to come. And then we've got Lionel's little one. I don't know how it happened, but we've got 2, like mum and dad got brown eyes, and then baby girl got blue eyes. I reckon it's the old throwback Mitchell side. Like they've got a lot of Mitchells there, got blue eyes, see. I know where it come from. I know someone jumped the fence.
And before we sort of wrap up and let you go, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the work and that too that you're doing now with the farm. Did you always have interest in that sort of work? Or?
Back in the day, I mean, a good mate of mine, he comes every day. I call him my shadow. I don't go. I've known him since we were 6-year-old, and the Tisdall family up here, beautiful people. They do anything for anybody, like no matter what colour, but blackfellas in general.
Yeah.
They had a lot of farms and dairy farms and stuff, and I done a bit of work with him, but I got interested in like veggie gardens and all that sort of stuff. But like every Aboriginal family at Purfleet, or it doesn't matter, any community, we had fruit trees because we wanted to grow our own stuff, back in the missions, Don't matter what mission you went to, we had fruit trees or veggie gardens. So, but I'm the worst veggie farmer going. I kill everything. So I'm trying to kill Trill's cows. So I've been looking after Trill's cows. I got Wayne Bennett sent some cows down to the Trill. Him and Wayne get on pretty well with the cows and stuff. And Russell Crowe's got his own farm, and he took Latrell's bull on. We've got a bull called Night Rider. Remember old Night Rider back in the day?
No.
Night Rider and Kit. Okay, not old enough.
No.
All right. But anyway, we had a bull called Night Rider. Anyway, Russell Crowe took him on, and we got some of Night Rider's kids with me, so I'm looking after everything. And then, oh wow, it's funny. And Russell Crowe said he got a couple of bulls down now, and so I got a couple of cows that come out and they'll give me air with it. So I learned about grass. I love grass, but I like wallabies coming on. But if they eat my grass and the wood ducks, the native ducks, I'm going to chase them off with. I got a dog from Brewarrina.
Yeah. So Trump got that when he wanted.
Yeah, from the Kirby boys from Bray. Yeah, beautiful, mate. And then Miri. Guess what Miri means? Dog. That's what Mary, dog. Dog come here, So
she chases brothers from up there?
No, I haven't met him, but Trell's been out there a lot. He's been to Burke, he's been to Brewarrina, he's been out there. That's one thing about my son and I, because I know the mother's mob's a Radri mob. So, and I said to him, and I've got connections to the Ewan mob too. My great grandmother's from Ewan country, from Wallaga Lake. So from Wallaga Lake all the way to Gumbaynggirr country. My grandmother's so in between, I couldn't get a woman from the coast. So I had to go inland, get all the ones that fight. Don't get me going there with them. Well, got knocked out 1990. Don't. I see women fighting better than men out there.
You talked about the boys, and your kids being a better reflection of yourself.
Yep.
You've done a lot of work as well in schools and as a mentor and a role model.
Long time.
How was that for you? Was that good mentally for you too, like all the advice and that? What was some of the best advice you sort of give to
I just tell real stories. Like when I grew up with mostly mothers and fathers. They're the grandparents and stuff. And like 17 years, brother. I was in one school, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Like the kids, it's not the adults. I mean, I love the adults. There's a couple of teachers like Brother Mitcho here, and I've known him a long time, and he's known a lot of Aboriginal kids, like my cousins, that he taught. So we got a lot in common, Mitcho and I. We play football together, and that's probably the biggest thing is knowing their dads and mums, and I always say to them, don't growl with, especially if dad's gone to jail. And I know them, and then the reason why I got them out of class. I'm not going to tell them fellas. I'm not going to tell them fellas that dad got arrested last night. It's not you don't need to know that. As long as the kids are safe, and as long as the kids are right, as long as they're at school, that's a safe place. That's probably my biggest thing, and that's what I miss the most. In the last 3 years, a lot of kids that finished Year 12 where I was at school, where the boys went to school and I went to school, and they miss me. And I know every time I run them, I come back, I come in, I come to graduation. I said, don't go there. Stop it. I miss them, mate. Like 1 year, we had 33 Aboriginal kids finish their HSC. I don't care if they got big marks, little marks. All I said to them was, you finish school. If you can finish school, you can finish anything. You can finish anything. You can get a job, you can get a car, you can just go drive past and go.
So, in that role, was that the greatest satisfaction you got, seeing them go right through?
Mate, seriously, besides my oldest daughter, she's up in Graft away, and the boys doing what they're doing. mate. Wow. And then all the children I've dealt with in the last 17 years, brother. Wow. I'm happy, brother. I'm happy. They call me an uncle, and I give them respect.
Yeah.
And then they give me respect by calling me uncle, brother. I've got tears in my eyes because, you don't grow up one day and have grey hair, brother, and say I'm an elder. You can't do that, mate. You got to give respect, brother, to earn it.
Yeah.
And that was it was instilled in me. And wow.
To finish up, we always see you and the boys, but we never see Mum. Talk to us about your beautiful wife and the role that she's played too. Because she feels like, is she shy? Because she's always behind the scenes, you know?
She's not one of the front of cameras, you know. I mean, look, she hasn't had the best upbringing, you know, as well. I mean, her dad, he was one of the most beautiful Aboriginal souls you ever want to meet. Like, wow. I mean, he always accepted me, you know, and I can't, like, he's, like, you know what I mean? Like, he taught Yvonne Goolagong how to play tennis. I mean, he's Yvonne Goolagong's older brother. He's the man, mate, you know what I mean? Yeah. And he was the most gracious man you'll ever want to meet. And wow. That's why my children, like, as an Aboriginal man, married to a non-Aboriginal person, and put up with the racial stuff back in the late 60s and 70s out west. Wow. Wow. And she grew up with like strength and courage, but she's not one of the big name. That's her, mate.
Very humble,
She's very humble, but wow. She put up with me
for
this long.
Though. She's the rock.
She look 100%. She's the rock. She's the one that she talks to the boys more than me, and she pulls the boys in a line. Yeah. Wow. She goes, yeah. You know, she goes, son, how come you didn't mention the Radri mob? Oh, sorry, Mum. We were born in Biripi country, you know, like, it doesn't matter. Hello. Do you want me to remind you where you come out of? I can't say that line.
In closing, what is the best bit of advice you can give to the viewers? Like when we talk about these yarns being, you know, people that had this gift that was God given, that is untapped, and it's once in a generation. It's unique because only a chosen few got touched with it, but some, like yourself, didn't reach the potential that you had. What advice would you give people out there?
I'll go back on that, brother. A lot of Aboriginal people don't realise how much they're blessed. Women, men, boy, girl. I mean, that they're so blessed in many ways. And their talent, wow, harness it, because you've got so much opportunity right now to do it, as long as you've got the support. But if you haven't got the support, think about the old people and what they sacrificed. What they sacrificed, my brother, because they've been through a lot, man. And all I remind everybody in my home, especially my children, you know, hey, listen, you're not the ground you're walking on, but remember where you go, what country you come from. Make sure that you go and see the elders and say, listen, this is where I've come from, and I'm on your country. I'm visiting you. You know, I'm gonna make it, and then, but don't give up on yourself, man. No. Listen, don't go to jail, because jail's not from no black fella. Who want to be locked up in a cell? You know, no way. Country, big sky up there, brother. Looking. I say to my boys always, as long as you can see the stars, you're laughing. How many of our people have been incarcerated, brother? But no judgment. I love them, you know, because unfortunately there's a lot that haven't been given the opportunity that we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And brother,
Can I?
the best that never was.
Yeah.
Episode 1.
100%.
The phenom from Taree, Matty Mitchell.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother, and thank you all for watching. We'll come to you again soon. Hopefully, we can try and get someone like Eddie Smith, but we get a couple of local boys down in Newcastle. Darryl Gordon, Rob Smith, Scotty Briggs, a couple of those blokes for the next few weeks. And then once all the junior footy's over in Newcastle, we're going to venture out and we're going to go North Coast. We're going to go Termla, Moree, Armidale. I want to go down the South Coast. I want to see blokes like Trent Robinson and Richie Williams down, La Perouse and Sydney area. So if anyone sees those guys, tell them we're trying to chase them up as well, because I think they got a story to tell. Blokes like Craig Trindle, who could have been anything, out west in Mount Druitt as well. So thanks again for watching. Thanks to Matty Mitchell, and we'll see you next time, guys. Thank you.